In early July, Tedy Bruschi, former Patriots linebacker, suffered a stroke. Bruschi had suffered his first stroke back in 2005 when he was just 31 years old. I sat down with Dr. Zubair, Kareem, a neurologist and the director of the stroke service at Holyoke Medical Center, and Angela Smith, a registered nurse and manager of stroke service, to learn more about the frequency of strokes in younger adults.
Stroke in young, technically we take 55 and younger. Medically speaking, whenever we talk about young people, 55 and younger, about 10 to 15% of strokes happen in that population. Now, overall in the U.S., stroke incidence has been either plateaued or declining, but the stroke in young, unfortunately, has been increasing slightly during the last many years.
What's the cause of that?
Well, typically, stroke, as you know, is a plumbing disorder. So as we grow older, our plumbing gets weak. That's why older people get stroke. But young people have a unique problem with their plumbing. So basically three things. One is high blood pressure. Many young people have high blood pressure, and that is one of the main causes of stroke, both in young and elderly. Especially young people who don't want to take a medicine, who don't want to believe they have high blood pressure. That's the first cause. The second one is drug of abuse. Mm-hmm. So alcohol, cocaine, meth, these drugs. Now, young body, I was just thinking today how to give an example that people will remember. Young bodies are like Ford 150. You look at it, very muscular, can do anything, mm-hmm. but it is not designed for racing. So when you put drugs in your system, you're taking your body to like racing, like a car race. What happens, there is sudden surge in increase in blood pressure, and your vascular system is stressed. And every time you do that, there is a vascular fatigue. There is a concept called vascular fatigue, that after some time you would injure your small blood vessels, and that's the second cause. The third cause in young patient is something they are genetically inclined to. Some of those young people have problem with the plumbing, meaning some blood vessels, or sometimes their blood is too thick. So mainly these three causes: high blood pressure, drug of abuse, and genetic causes.
And certainly when you're talking about younger patients, their focus is likely not going to the doctor all the time, right? You probably slip up a lot more when you're in your 20s and 30s because you're busy and you're healthy. And I think for people who see or hear about somebody who's young, who has a stroke, it's shocking. They're like, what? That can't possibly happen.
Absolutely. That stroke is shocking for every age, but especially for a young age. But for almost decades now, we know that high blood pressure we need to treat. High blood pressure is not the only thing. Many young people are diabetics. Many young people have high cholesterol. But to believe that you have a condition for which you have to take a medicine every day, who wants to take it? I don't want to take it.
Right, you're invincible too in the younger age.
So basically that leads to strokes.
And Angela, I know that you both have worked together for a number of years in the stroke service at Holyoke Medical Center. Have you treated younger patients in your experience?
Yes, we have as he said, an absolute increase in the younger people that come in with the strokes. And again, it is some of the trending with all the drugs of abuse, but there are the genetic factors, as he said. So we really have the patient come in and we recognize that they've had the stroke. That is the biggest part of our job, and not to minimize or discount it as something else, and then get to the bottom of it and say, why did you have the stroke? Do you have a clotting disorder? Are you obese? Are there things that we can work on together that improve those risk factors? So that's where all our energy is once they come to us, we're committed to those patients.
Right, and so Tedy Bruschi just had a second stroke. Of course, Patriots great, linebacker, and he had his first stroke, early 30s. He was 31, 2005, and he went on to play football. So he sort of brings to light this fact that younger people, can suffer from these.
See, the thing about stroke is, strokes which are not known to us, or strokes which are extremely mild, they are much more common than stroke which really are obvious. So somebody who has high blood pressure might have a stroke, he would not know it, or might have a very small event, and he or she might go back to whatever they're doing. But when we image them, we do an MRI or something, we see multiple events already happen which you are not aware of. So when, I don't know this case in specifics, but I would say most likely possibility for a young patient is having high blood pressure, having a minor event, going back to what you do. And if you don't take care of that, then it can happen again.
Now, do the minor events, let's say there's 2 or 3 minor events that were never caught, is that the precursor to a big event? Is that typically how it works?
I usually, the answer to that I give to my patients. This is a very common question. I tell them, if you get a traffic ticket, chances are you're going to get another one. There's something about you. So yes, that is true. But the main thing is that there is a particular reason these people have, and they need to find out why and take care of that particular reason. Most of the time, it is something that they could manage, like high blood pressure, or not putting something in their body that they shouldn't be putting in.
Right.
Now, as far as the third cause is concerned, just because we're talking about a man, it is important to talk about women too. Young women are particularly at risk if they have combination of things. Some women have, they use hormones, and if they also have complicated migraines. Migraine alone or hormone taking alone does not really give you too much of a risk factor for stroke, but combination of things can. So if you take hormones, you have migraine, and you smoke, you're putting yourself at tremendous risk.
And so what do you see, Angela, as far as people in rehab? Can they go on to the activity that they might have been used to? If you have a younger patient, you said under 55, so that's a wide range. But let's say you have somebody who's a runner or who plays tennis. Can they go back to that lifestyle if they change, other things?
Yeah, we've seen great progress in people, and young. You do have that to your advantage. You're young and you're pliable, and you can get things back. Even if it's a devastating stroke, we've seen young people really come back from that event, and that's because they have youth on their side. And I think that that's just important for them to know, but it really has to be recognizing that you really did have something, and then making some kind of lifestyle changes with your self, your meds, and just paying attention to that.
So obviously exercise is probably a component, but people worry, do I do too much exercise? Could that lead to complications?
Physical activity in general does not really. I mean, some odd type of physical activities have some unique risks attached to them. And if you jerk your neck for some reason, I'll give you a real example, heavy kite flying in New Hampshire, young person, and that was the reason injured his blood vessels and got stroke. Truck drivers, I worked in Missouri for a year, and I haven't seen that many carotid dissections, which is injury to carotid in that area, because there are too many truck drivers passing by. So there are multiple factors, but the regular physical activities like jogging, running, biking, that is really not a significant risk factor.
That's not a significant risk. So the bottom line, people have to, check in with their physician and look for the symptoms, which again are, if you could just spell them out for us, Angela.
Yeah, well, it's a sudden onset usually what occurs, and it's weakness on one side of the body, usually the face, the arm, the leg. You can have problems with your speech, being able to say a certain word or recall a word or just pronouncing a word. And then you can have difficulty with your gait, balance, you could be off. And you could also have issues with, if it's a hemorrhagic type stroke, you could have a really severe headache, which usually accompanies high blood pressure also, almost like that ice cream kind of headache, and it's a gripping type of a headache. So there's just those type of symptoms that, and the eyes, you can have problems with your eyes as well. You can have visual field loss or things like that. So you just have to pay really attention to it's called BFAST. Balance, eyes, face, arm. T is time, which means get to the hospital and let us help you.